Hello guys, welcome to this session. In today's lecture, we will put together all the components we've been learning in previous lectures to come up with a login interface like this. It will be able to detect when someone tries to log in without entering a username or password. It will be able to detect when a user inputs in wrong credentials. It should also be able to detect that the user has logged in using the correct credentials. So with all that said, let's dive in and we start. So I'll start with cutting out all this code because I've already done this so that I can show you what we are going to do. So I'll cut out all this. Let me paste it in a new notepad so that we can use it in order to save time and make this video short. So I'll remove all the unused imports, format my work, and run to see what we currently have. So this is what we currently have, an empty JFrame. But I'll first explain something which we didn't cover in the last sessions. Guys, do you see this line 12? Login frame that set resizable false. This makes our frame not to be resizable so that you cannot resize it. When we proceed to line 13, this line 13 dot set undecorated to true. It removes this X button and all these components in this upper bar so that the user cannot close our application using this X button. What do I mean? Let me first comment out this line and run our program. So when I run our program, I think you can see that we have the title here and the icon. We also have the X button and these other buttons. So here, the user can close this program using this button. But when we add this line 13, it prevents the user from closing the application using this button because this button won't be displayed. So let me run again and we see what happens when that line is not commented out. So this is what happens. We will not be having the X button. So guys, we'll proceed to creating our login interface. First of all, we will add a panel, which will be the main panel to hold all other components. To keep this video short, I'll copy this panel from here because I already developed it, and I will be explaining every step. So I'll add the imports for the JPanel. I'll also add the import for the color. And I'll add this to our frame so that it is visible. I'll format my work, and then we'll come here and we'll check. Uh, Guys, we covered all this in our previous lectures, how to create a JPanel. If you missed, you can refer to our previous lectures. So here we are creating a JPanel on line 18. We set the layout manager to null on line 19. So we do this so that we can freely position our components in any area where we want in this JPanel. We set the bounds for this JPanel. We've set them to a left margin of 400, a top margin of 200, and a width of 550 and a height of 300. On line 21, we set the background color of our JPanel. So let's run and see what we currently have. So currently, this is what we have. We have a blue interface. It is not displaying anything. We will go on to add other components to our interface. So let us proceed with adding the label. So we'll come to this JPanel and add a label. I'll import the JLabel and also import the font. And guys, on line 25, we are creating the JLabel and giving it a title. The title is Tech Grow POS. On line 26, we are setting its bounds. On line 27, we are giving it the foreground color, which is set to white. On line 28, we are setting the font for our JLabel. This font is it's Calibri. It is set to bold and 25. So 25 is the size of the font. And on line 30, we add our JLabel to our main panel. So as discussed in the previous sessions, once you add something to the panel, that component will be displayed when the panel is displayed. And in order for you to stop displaying all the components of the panel, you just have to disable, or you don't have to display the JPanel. So what do I mean? What I mean is if we add this main panel to the JFrame, all the components of the JPanel will be displayed. So actually, I think we don't need line 27 of setting. No, we need it. I thought it was the background, but since it's the foreground, we need it so that our font will be white. So let me run and we'll see what we have currently. So currently, this is what we have. We have given a title to our login interface. So we'll proceed to adding other components. So I'll proceed by adding another JPanel, which will hold the login details. So let me get it from here. Now I'll come here below the main panel. So I'll first import the border. So I'll import this from javax.swing.border factory. Then I'll import the border from javax.swing. Please take note, if you import from JavaFX, this will be another library. Since we are dealing with Java Swing, then we will have to import from java.swing. So this is our login panel which is created, but I want this login panel to be added to the main panel, because the main panel will be holding all our components, and it's the main panel which is added to the JFrame. So I'll come here and I'll pass in our login panel. I'll repeat, I'm passing in the login panel, or I'm adding the login panel to the main panel, so that we will be able to see the login panel in the frame via the main panel on line 47 here. Once I call the main panel, it will be displayed with all its components. So now, right now, what are its components? In its components right now, we have the JLabel title, this one on line 27, and now we have also added the login panel here on line 45. So it's like we are adding one panel into another panel. And this panel, and the login panel has a border. So let me explain line 42. On line 42, we are creating our border. We are creating our border. Why are we not saying new border? Because we are creating this, because the border class is coming from the border factory. And on line 43, we are setting a border to the login panel. So let me run and we see what we have currently. So currently, this is what we have. We have our interface with the title and the border. So this border shows where our login panel is passing, or it's the only area where the login panel, the only area which the login panel is taking. So let's proceed to add more components. So guys, we will proceed with adding other components to the login panel, so that these components will be displayed. So let's go to our login panel. I'll add these components. So it is also worth noting that when adding components to this panel, you have to add these components to the login panel before adding the login panel to the main panel on line 47. So what do I mean? All contents or components of the login panel have to be added before line 47. So I'll come here on line 45 and I'll paste our components. I'll go on and copy another button, which is the close button. I'll cut it here. I'll go here at the bottom and paste it there. And I'll proceed to adding these components to our panel. So I'll need to import the JTextField. Also, I will have to import the JPassword field and the JButton. So all our errors are gone. I'll format my work. So we'll proceed from line 46. And we ended at line 46, we'll proceed to line 48. Line 48, we created a JLabel called details title. For JLabels, we went through all this on how to create JLabels in our previous lecture. So line 48 to 51, we created and customized our JLabel details title. On line 53 to line 56, we created our JLabel username for the username and customized it. And we added we set the font for our JLabel, we set its bounds, and we set its foreground. So something worth noting here, when we are setting these bounds, for example, JLabel username dot set bounds, we set it to 20 left margin, 50 top margin. This 20 left margin, it is the margin or the space from the JPanel login panel to from the JLabel login panel. This is not the margin from the JFrame. No, it's margin from the parent component. So when we say that a margin of 20 left, this is 20 left of the parent component. So it's a margin of 20 left from the parent component. And this 55 is the margin top from the parent component, not from the JFrame. I'll proceed to line 58. Line 58, we created a JTextField username, and line 59 to line 61, we customized that text field. On line 63, again we created a border. This border is a line border, and we set this border to our JTextField username. So we did the same on line 66. We created another JLabel 66 through 69. My point of interest here is in line 71. Line 71, we created a JPassword field. And this JPassword field, we customized it. On line 72, we set its font. On line 73, we set its bounds. And on line 75, we set its border. So I wanted to explain the difference between the JText field and the JPassword field. This JPassword field, if you use a JPassword field, it will display your contents or your digits when you are entering the password. They will be hidden. But if you use a JText field, your input will be visible, so that in case anyone is near you, you can be able to copy your password. So that's why it's always good to know what you are taking in and how to take it in. So using the JPassword field, it will be hiding your characters which will be entering, so that they will not be visible. What do I mean? Let me run it. I'll show you what I mean. So here on the username, we used the JText field for the username. That's why if I input a name, you are seeing that the name is Bridget. But here on the password field, we used the JPassword field. That's why if I enter the same characters here, you will not be able to see them, but you will be seeing only dots for the password. So this is a JPassword field, and this one here for the username is a JText field. So we'll proceed to line 77. Line 77, we went on to create a button, which is the login button. On line 78, we set its bounds. Line 79, we set its font. Line 80, we set its foreground color. And on line 81, we set its background color. On line 83, we created another border and we set this border to the JButton login. So on line 86 up to line 92, we did the same. We created another button, which is the close button. Then we set its bounds. On line 88, we set its font. And on line 89, we set its background color. So on line 91, we created another border and we set it on the JButton close on line 92. So you might be asking yourself, why are we creating these new borders every time? The reason why we are creating these new borders is because of the color here. Why? Here on this JButton, on the border for the JButton login, we used a different color. This one, it's a green color. It's a green color, but of a different value. And here on line 91, we used a different color. This border is a red color here. So let me show you this. So when you closely look at this button, it has a green color, a border which is green. For example, when I press the button down, I think you can see that green border color. And when I press this button like this, I think you can see that red border color. So that's why I'm defining or creating new borders, but not reusing the old borders. So guys, that is our login interface. But we'll proceed to add events on these buttons for the button login and the button close. Currently, if I run our project like this and we click close, nothing is happening. The program is not closing. And even if I click login, the program is doing nothing. Why? Because we haven't handled the events on these buttons. And also we don't have this X button for closing at the top because we set undecorated to true. So what do I want to do? I go on to add a function or to listen to the event on this button so that when it is clicked, this program will be cancelled or it will be closed. So let me go on. I will cut this from here for the close button and come here to the JButton close. So I'll need to import the action listener. Oh no, it's asking for implementing all the classes. They are already implemented. Hold on, why is it not recognizing the implementation? Okay, let me implement them again. So I'll close this because it's already the same. I did it already. So on line 96, we are adding an action listener to the JButton close. And on line 101, we are disposing the frame. What does this mean? If you dispose this login frame, that means this entire program will be closed because all these components, like the JPanels, in which we are adding other components, they are displayed in the login frame. So once you close this login frame, the entire program will be closed. So remember, this login frame, the one we are disposing here on line 101, this is the login frame we created here on line 20. So let me run our program and we see what we currently have. So right now right now we are able to close this program once we click on this button. So it will close. Why? Because we are disposing this login frame on line 101. So we will go on to add action listeners or event listeners on the login button. So where's our login button? It's here. So I'll have to add inputs for the option pane. So everything is now clear. There are no errors. Guys, on line 89, we added an event listener, which is an action listener on the JButton login. And on line 93, we created a string variable name, and we assigned TechBro to it as its value. On line 94, we created another string variable pass, and we assigned the password as the password of 12345 as the value. So what do I mean? Right now we are using these static values, but in future, for you to connect or for you to compare the login details to the details in your database, you will need to fetch the data from your database. Then you go on to extract the name and store it in this variable name. You will not stop there. You will continue to extract the password and store it in this variable password, so that you can be able to test the user input, like the username input and the password, against these two variables. So I'll proceed to line 96. On line 96, we created another string variable, username, and we stored the value. Which value did we store? This is the value entered by the user into the username text field. So we went on to get this value using the JTextField username. This is the JTextField we created for the username .getText. This .getText helps us to get all the text or anything which is input in this text field. So we went ahead to add the .trim. This will remove all the blank spaces at the end of the input. And after that, we went on to use this dot to lowercase. This will turn everything from this text field into lowercase. So on line 97, we went on to create another string variable, and we named it user pass. After naming it user pass, we stored the value captured from the JPassword field password, and we used the .getText to get this input. So I didn't turn this input to lowercase because a password can have both lowercase and uppercase, so you can customize your password differently. And also I didn't trim the spaces because you can add a space as a character or the last character on your password. But my interest in this .getText here is, if you look closely, you will see that this .getText is straight through. What does this mean? This means that this is duplicated in the newer versions. Let me show you what I'm trying to mean. If you come here and click dot, they will show you that this is duplicated, the .getText. And here in the IntelliSense, it will show you deprecated as of Java 2 platform version 1.2 replaced by get password. So it will show you everything, like it will show you the changes which were made here. But let me make this clear also. If I come here and I use the .get password, if I use the .get password here, I will get errors. Why will I get errors? Because my version of Java is lower than Java 2. So I'm using an older release. That's why I cannot use the .get password. So that means I'll stick to .get text because it is supported by my Java version. So on line 99, we went on to create an if statement. This if statement is comparing, or it's getting our username and checking if it is empty. So it is checking if there is anything in the username. And also it is checking if there is anything in the password. So what do I mean? If this username is empty or the user password is empty, then this code here on line 100 will be executed. So please note that any of these fields, this line 99 means if you don't enter anything in the username as a username and you click login, this code here on line 100 will be executed. Or if you don't enter anything in the user password and you click login, this code will again be executed. So it means either way, if you don't enter anything in the username, or if you don't enter anything in the user pass, you execute this line 100. So let me show you line 100. Line 100, this is a message dialog. This J option pen. So this J option pen dot show message dialog. It's creating a message dialog. Where are we displaying this message dialog? We are passing in a null interface. Why are we passing in null? So that it can be displayed anywhere in our software or in our program. But we can select the frame as well for it to be displayed in the JFrame. But I'll keep null for now. And we are passing in a message here, a string. It's a string. What will be displayed? So we are trying to inform the user that the field username or password is empty. And we'll proceed to give this a title, login error, to show what's going on. And we'll proceed to choose which message is this. This is an error message here. So that is an error message. So we proceeded to line 102. 102, we are adding another condition. So if this condition is true, that means that if we enter the username and the password, then we will go on and check this condition here. This condition here. So this condition says if username is equal to name. So we are checking if this username, which is input by the user during login, is equal to this name from our database. And we proceed to say and user pass is equal to pass. So we are checking if this user pass here is the same as this password, which is stored in this pass here. So this is our password from the database. If it's true, if they are both equal, then we will execute this line 103. Line 103 is the same as line 100, but the only difference is here in the message which will be displayed. So this will be an information message instead of an error message. So if you wanted an error message, you could just come here and choose .error message. But since this is not an error message, it's an information message informing us that the login is successful, we will take the information message. So we won't stop there. We will proceed to adding a default statement to be executed. So in case this line is false, and this line is false, and this, in case this condition is false, and this condition is also false, our program will go on to execute this. It will execute line 105. This will be a message dialog showing you that wrong username or password, and it will show you the username which you entered and the password you entered, and it will show that this is an error during login, and will go on to show that this is an error message. So guys, I think we are on the same line. Let me execute or run our program so that I show you what I mean. So if I come here and I click login without entering anything, it will show you login error logging in, empty field username or password. What do I mean? That means that I have not entered anything, so this condition is true. If this condition is true, this code here on line 100 will be executed. If I enter a correct username, for example, TechBro, because it's the one which we assigned to our name, and I enter our password 12345, and I log in, it will show you login successful. Logged in as user TechBro, password 12345. So if I enter correct credentials, this condition is true. If this condition is true, then line 103 will be executed. So I'll proceed. So if I enter anything wrong, for example, TechBlo 1, and I say OK, it will show error logging in, wrong username or password. Username TechBro1, password 12345. So guys, please take note. The password is correct, the username is wrong. Let me go here. So that means these two conditions, this one and this one, they are false. Like these conditions were not true. So we went on to execute this, whereby we executed the code on line 105. And this is showing that the username or the password is not correct. So actually this means that this condition, it was okay. The username and password were entered. But this condition was false because the username is not equal to the name. So that means this line cannot be executed because the username is not equal to the name, but the user password is equal to password. So that means this condition is false. And if this condition is false, line 103 will not be executed. So the program will go on to the next condition. And the next condition, it's a default. What is to be done in case the first conditions are false. So that's why it went on to execute this line of code 105. So guys, that is our login interface which we have designed, putting together the components which we have learned in the previous lectures. So in case you need this code, you can find it. I'll be sharing it with you. Also, you can ask me, why did you add this panel here? Why didn't you put all these things in the outer panel? Or why didn't you put all these things in the login frame directly? I didn't put all these things in the login frame directly. One of the reasons is to make our program look beautiful, or our interface. For example, you see this border, it is adding beauty. to our program. Also, I wanted to organize our components very well. And also, we can be able to add other components which are not login details. For example, you see this border, inside this border, that is where we have the login, like the login components. But we can come here outside this panel, for example, here, and we put, for example, the version of our software. And also, it's worth noting that in this outer panel, we have our title. So our title, it's not, I will not say that it's part of the login components. So that's why I decided to organize these things, these panels like this, so that I nest these panels, like I put one panel inside another panel. So anyone who needs this code, I'll be sharing this code with you so that we'll be moving at the same pace. But I will encourage you always to be more attentive when we are creating these individual components, because these are the individual components which we'll be using to like to develop or to come up with an interface like the one which I've been sharing or which we have been developing. So it's always good to be attentive when we are developing these components. So guys, in our next session or in the next lecture, we will go on to introduce another concept. Uh, this will be a concept of functions or methods, whereby we will not be putting everything here in the main method, but we will just be calling different methods in the main method for us to execute the codes. What do I mean? We will remove everything from here, and we'll make things, or we'll structure our program very well so that so that it's well structured and we can know, or we can refer to different methods for an individual component. So what do I mean? We are going to try to do this. So let me see. Where's our main? For example, let me show you what I'm trying to mean. Let me come to this main JPanel. I'll cut everything for the main JPanel out. I'll come here. I'll say X. I'll cut it out. I'll come here, exactly out of the main function. I'll create another function. Please note it's outside the main function, but still within the same class. So here, I'll create another function. It will be a public function, and it will be final, and it will be returning a JPanel. So I'll give this a name. Let me say main login panel. So it will not be taking in anything. So what does this mean? Let me come here. So this line 32 means this method is public and final. It will not be taking in, like it will be returning a JPanel, but it will not be taking in anything here. It's not taking in parameters or arguments. And the name of this method, it is a main login panel. So why is this error showing? It's saying missing return statement. So we have to return a JPanel to rectify everything. So I'll paste that here and I'll proceed. So I'll comment out this line, we don't need it. So I'll come and I'll return this JPanel. So also you see this login frame, why is it complaining? This login frame is complaining because we are trying to access it out of its scope. So that means outside of its scope, that means we declared or created this frame as a local variable. So I'll go on to copy this from here and come here in outside the method but within the class. I'll create this login frame from here and I'll come and remove this so that we make it a local, we make it a global variable. So why is it complaining? JFrame non-static okay, hold on, I'll get this. So it's showing that non-static variable. Okay, I can go on to make this static as well to remove those errors. But this is not what I wanted. I'll go on to do something else. Let me see. I'll go on to remove all this code for the JFrame. What do I mean? I need to remove all that code and I take it out. I create another method for it. So let me cut this code out and come here and I say public static final, and it will be returning a JFrame and I'll name it login frame. It will not be taking in any parameters. So I'll come here, I'll paste this here, and it will be returning a login frame to remove that error. So this is one method and this is another method here. So what I will do, I'll call this method within the login frame. I'll come here before setting it to visible and I will say login frame dot add to add a component. And which component will I be adding? I'm adding a component returned by this method or function, the main login. So why is it complaining? Non-static method main login pan. So okay, refreshed. Let me see. So it's showing that this method is not static. So I'll come here and I'll make this method also static to remove the error. So that will harmonize our program. Then, so on line 32, sorry, I added the panel or the JPanel returned by this method, I added it to the login frame. What do I mean? I mean this panel with all its components, because this method is returning this panel with all its components. So I'm adding it to the login frame on line 32. So then I'll go on to call this method here in the main method. So guys, I don't know if you are getting what I'm meaning, but we have structured our program. The main method is calling only the login frame, and the login frame is calling here the main login panel. Like, it's calling the main login panel with all its details on 932. So, and everything is done here in 938. So let me run our program to see what we have. So guys, I think you are able to see that our interface has not changed anything. Nothing has changed, but the way we have structured our code has changed. We still have the same interface, but with an organized workspace. So this means in case there is any error, it's easy for us to know where the error is coming from. For example, if the error is with the login frame, we can come to the frame and we customize it more, or we rectify the error. If the error is with the panels, we can come to this section of the panels, we rectify the error. Or in case we want to customize the panels more, we can just come directly to the panel, or to the method which is preparing this panel, and we modify our panels. So guys, I think that's all for today. And starting onwards, we'll be going on with this same setting, so that we'll be creating our codes professionally, and we organize our work professionally, and also it will be easy for us to troubleshoot and to customize our work very well.